Put your hands together for Orko. Again, this time you guys have been driven by fantastic cars with branding that has kind of helped the conclave. I mean, the bright colors, the red, the yellow, and they have sponsors of Indian sport for a long, long time, whether it's WPL, whether it's other sport. You have seen Tata Motors backing Indian sport, whether it's from 1945 to now. You will see that brand being core of Indian sport and supporting Indian sport. Again, very senior corporate manager from Tata Motors, very, very sincere supporter of Rev Sports for this particular conclave. Delighted to have them on board. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Pooja, sir. Pooja, can we have you on stage there, Pooja? And you've seen, one brand has been with me from day one. In fact, it was the first call to this man in 2021 from Dubai. Put your hands together for my dear friend, head of marketing of Aegis Federal, Iram Kidwai. Day one of Rev Sports, the first call was to this man. I don't know him for that long, but I can tell you that in the few months that I know him, one, he's impressive, two, he has vision, three, he has that heart to back sport. We did the FIFA World Tour together. You would love to hear his insights. Put your hands together for Shantanu Gangane from Coca-Cola. All of us in Kolkata, we pick on his brains, for even our lines. So we turned 4 this year. Rev Sports turned 4 in his office, and I said, give me a line, Murli, give me a line. And he said, 4 FOUR TUNES. Reshape fortunes. Use it like that. One of the best marketing advertising brains in the country, Murli Krishnan from Wow Momo. To moderate this particular session, Shormishtha Guptu and Agnijit Sen.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very, very good morning and welcome to the third and final day of the Tata Steel Trailblazers Conclave 4.0. This is a very, very important session with some of the top corporate leaders in the country, a very esteemed panel. And it is always an additional challenge to speak after Boriada's introduction, because it's like Ravi Shastri introducing the toss and then you cut to the pre-match. So it's actually very difficult to speak after Boriada. So in order to make life easier, why not just start with a quote? Because that's my favorite part of, taking a conversation forward. You just start with a quote and people think you have researched a lot, but it's actually a shortcut, but not really a shortcut because you still have researched about the quote. So this is something what Nelson Mandela said about leadership. He said, what counts in life is not the mere fact that we have lived. What counts in life is not the mere fact that we have lived. It is what difference we have made to the lives of others that will determine the significance of the life we lead. And all the corporate leaders here who you see on stage are doing exactly that. They're trying to make a difference to how people live, to how people see sports, and to how do they inculcate the leadership values in their team. Orko Professor, if I may start with you. HSBC, ladies and gentlemen, please a big round of applause for Orko Professor. He's been one of the strongest backers of Rev Sports, and Boriada mentioned the Paris Olympics. And of course, one of the integrated parts of the Olympics is the Paralympics. So in India, if we talk about corporate backing, if we talk about corporate sponsorship, of course there are exceptions. But the first thing that comes to your mind is cricket. A lot of cricket is happening in the country, and you have sponsors, you have backers everywhere. But to back Rev Sports at the Paris Olympics, that actually takes a lot of heart and a lot of guts. So how did this thing happen? How did you trust your own leadership instincts to back ref sports at the Paris Olympics 2024? And also the fact that what are the leadership lessons that you take to your boardroom from the sport itself? Because you have been integrated with sports for fairly a long time.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that introduction. And, it feels great when you are a part of such a, established panel here. And also, hearing out Akash, hearing out a lot of people who have spoken before. Thank you so much for inviting me here first and giving me this opportunity.
All credit goes to Boria and Shormishtadi.
Absolutely, absolutely. Very close, like almost a family to me. Now coming back to your question, why Paris Olympics and why ref sports? Great question. See, when I first met Boria and when I was speaking about the ambition that he had towards sports, athletics, etc., it resonated with what HSBC believes in its value system, right? I'll give you a little context. You would have seen HSBC doing a lot of things which are glamour, which are sports, where people want to be a part of, etc. You might not know things like we support Athletics Federation of India, women athletes in the AFI, right? That we don't do too much noise about, and very consciously we don't, right? Because that's something we really believe in. I'll give you a small example, and this is my colleague telling me a story one day, that, he, obviously being a privileged, belonging from a privileged background, doing a great job in HSBC, my colleague takes his daughter to the selection of one of the, I think, sprints, etc., in some of the AFI selection.
Athletics event, yeah.
Athletics selection, right? Over there, when he goes with his daughter, he finds a lot of these kids trying and, competing there, trying to get selected, right? From the tribals, from the not so privileged background. One thing that he saw, and he mentioned this to me, and that kind of made a huge impression in my mind, was that there were a lot of little girls who did not have proper gear or shoes to even, compete.
Really?
Yeah, they were doing it without those. His daughter had everything, right? So I'm just saying, if the starting line is correct, if the starting line is right, then I think they can, we can really go ahead. And that calls for a bigger, better infrastructure, corporates like us supporting, grassroots. And that kind of pepped us to do it. And what Boria did while he was going to, Paris, and, he said that we need kind of corporates to be a part of this. It was obviously a very easy synergy for me because we do support AFI, and we thought that would be a good segue to also talk about Paris Olympics, etc. And that was the trigger. The second part of your question, which is to do with what do I take to my boardroom? Again, I don't think short term. Long term is something that that I believe in. Whatever we think of, we strategize, we conceptualize. It's about longer period. It's not about आज कर लिया कल क्या result आएगा. Obviously, we are working in a very competitive environment where every leader wants returns, right? What you're investing, you want more returns, and that goes without saying. But if you have a long-term approach, I think, and again, everybody spoke about intent. The right intent with consistency and discipline makes the difference. That's number one, which obviously sports teaches you the most, I feel. The second thing is, don't look at the result. It is the process that is more important.
How lovely. A huge round of applause for this line. Don't look at the results. The process is what matters, and every one of us believes this at Ref Sports.
Yes, because I'll tell you why. In fact, it's a little kind of funny also. So, if you put in, 100% of your effort towards a particular project, towards, I'm talking from a corporate lens, in sports, obviously, towards the end goal that you have. And then, I don't look at failure as failure. It's a learning. But if you fail, for me, what happens is, if there's a project that I've put in a lot of effort, but it hasn't done well, I feel a little bit of happiness, because what I feel is, I have put in whatever I could. There is nothing more I could have done. There is a learning, obviously, in every failure. But what I feel is there is 100% something which is in store which will come for me, right? Because I've put in that 100% effort. Maybe not tomorrow, but day after. Something will come back. So you put in your efforts, look at the process, give your 100%, the results are ought to come. That's my say.
And you know, what actually you said right now resonated with Gautam Gambhir, who spoke yesterday, talking about intentions, and I quote him. He said, if you are making the wrong decisions with the right intent, then I don't have a problem in that dressing room. But you know, but if you're making the wrong decisions or the right decisions, you know, you only know when the decision is right or wrong after the results, like playing Sanju in that thing. But he said that if you're taking the wrong decisions with the wrong intentions or the right decisions with the wrong intentions, that I have a problem with. Because intent matters most to me in the dressing room.
And for that, you have to create an environment where people can fail. Very
absolutely.
important. You have to, as a leader, the first thing is you have to give people who are looking towards you, to give them that scope to fail. If you don't give that, if you're always expecting, you know, outstanding outcomes, you know, if you have taken this call or you're doing something, it has to kind of be the best, then you're not giving them scope to fail.
Absolutely.
As long as, and then that is empowerment. I'm telling you, every human being at the end of the day, when they're empowered, most of us would do the right thing because they know that there is a responsibility that is given to us. We should take it with utmost respect.
Absolutely, and sports teaches you how to fail, you know, that's why we all love sports. And moving to Pooja, sir, ladies and gentlemen, one of the most influential women corporate leaders in the country, and it gives me an absolute joy and pleasure and privilege to welcome you to this panel. And may I share a small personal thing with you? I loved the French window ad. I absolutely loved it. If you people have seen the Sierra ad, the French window ad, it was absolutely marvelous. And on that note, we have another leading women corporate leaders in the country on stage to co-moderate this session with me, Shormishtadi, the co-founder of Rev Sports. And so women empowerment and women power. Over to you, Shormishtadi.
Yes, so Pooja, welcome. Now, in your long career, you've led a lot of teams. You've been in a lot of boardrooms. You're a corporate leader. Now, yesterday I was doing a session with Sania Mirza to a packed house, and something that we discussed was that, you know, when women set boundaries, you know, and I asked Sania that, you know, people always thought you don't care, you're brash. But her response was that it's still a man's world, you know, and we agreed, it was in agreement that when women set boundaries and that's the same for a sports icon or for a woman leader, you know, when you are in a position, in a leadership position, when you set boundaries, when you set goals, it's sometimes that people push back, you know, harder because, you know, what a man can dismiss more brusquely, it's identified as an attitude problem in a woman. She's got arrogance, she's got an attitude problem. And so in Sania's words, it's still a man's world. Having led so many teams in the companies that you work for, and now, do you still think it's a man's world and a little bit more difficult for women in leadership roles?
Hi, thank you first of all very much for having me on this panel. And I thought that this is going to be all about sports, etc. But I think this question is very important and very close to me. So two things. I think first of all, I've been blessed to work in companies where...
Can you just take the mic a bit closer to your face?
I've been blessed to work in companies where, you know, inclusion and diversity has been core in the culture of the company. So be it Tata's, be it Unilever. In fact, in Unilever, we were a lopsided team. We had 2 men and 13 women in the team, right? And if you even see the leadership at Unilever right now, it is a lot, you know, women dominated. India CEO is a woman. Likewise, when you look at Tata Motors, I think inclusion and diversity goes hand in hand here as well. So for me, it's been a journey where, you know, it's not about the gender, but it's about what you bring to the table and what it does for the business. That's the most important thing. So even if you speak once in the room, but you speak the right thing, which has an impact, that matters the most than, you know, having a presence in the meeting. So that's the biggest thing. Having said that, I think, like I said, I am blessed, But I think there's a long way to go for women leadership in the country. We know the stats. If we look at senior leadership, women are hardly present there. And there's a long way to go for us to have equality in senior leadership in India. But I think we are getting there. And, slowly and slowly, rather than it being seen that, women have just got some favor or, they just because of equality, they are there, to what they bring to the table is now being understood by most of the corporates in the country. The empathy, the multitasking, the clarity of thought that a woman can get in the leadership space is acknowledged by everyone, and I think slowly and gradually things are changing. So never say never, and to the brighter future for women leadership, right?
If I may throw in one word, Shormishtadi, here, before you move on to our next panelist. Pooja ma'am, with the corporates that I've worked under 2 female bosses in my previous organization, and Shormishtadi is the co-founder of Rev Sports. While she hasn't been a boss, she's more of a friend, philosopher, guide. She's more of a comrade in the team. She's more of a team player. But the things that I have learned from my female bosses, and I don't say this because you are part of the panel or you just spoke about it, I don't think I could have learned from the opposite gender.
Thank you so much.
No, Pooja, I'd also like to say that, yes, obviously it shouldn't be about gender, but what you said, that women bring some things more into the workplace. I'm not saying men lack empathy or they lack kindness, but what women bring along with every bit of professionalism, that empathy and, that kindness. Okay, take it easy. You've had a bad day. I think that's so very important. I think the pandemic taught us that in such a big way. And I think, women do bring that along with every bit of, professionalism that they carry. So that's a very, very important point that you made. Thank you, Pooja. We'll come back to you. Iram Bhai. I'm sure you're asked this question, but it's unavoidable. You have the Sachin Tendulkar as your brand ambassador, and I think Pooja was talking about diversity. When we talk about India as a very diverse country, Sachin kind of embodies everything, every bit of diversity there. But he also brings a lot of leadership lessons, And as a market leader, Aegis Federal being a market leader, how does your brand connect with the leadership persona that Sachin projects?
Thank you for having me here, Sharmishta. And first and foremost, let me congratulate you, Boryada, and the entire Rev Sports team for yet another successful edition of Rev Sports, Trailblazer.
Sir, can you just take a mic up
yeah.
a little?
So it's a valid question, and it can be repeated many times because yes, it is the question which we are asked. But let me start by saying that, and it is an answer to your question that, for me, for us at Aegis Federal, leadership is the purest form which is driven by sports, right? You cannot have anything associated with sports and not take lessons from it for the corporate sector. I think the two parallels are uncanny. And when you come to Sachin Tendulkar and talking about Sachin Tendulkar, I think it was mentioned by our CEO, Mr. Jude Gomes, yesterday also in the panel. He stands for trust. He stands for consistent performance. He stands for the respect that he commanded through his bat and through his cricketing career. And when we thought of, and that was long time back, about 10 years ago when we thought of, and we were nowhere in the landscape of life insurance then, when we thought of having a brand ambassador, believe you me, I was in the panel, and it was a unanimous decision that either we go for Sachin Tendulkar or we don't go for any brand ambassador at all. Because these virtues are the virtues that anybody would like to resonate with. And that's the reason we have him, and it's been such a long association. But again, coming back to the point in your question, there are multiple lessons that we can learn from sports as corporate leaders. But 2 or 3 lessons, according to me, stand really, really above and beyond. And one of the foremost one is ability to accept defeat and move on. Every sportsperson, whether it's at an individual level or at a team level, knows that there are bound to be days when you will be defeated. But then they bounce back. And we as leaders, and I'm talking about across industry, companies and leaders who have nurtured their teams to accept this defeat and move on with resilience have really risen above the others, right? And then the second thing that is most, and I like to quote, and everybody knows about the famous Michael Jordan, right? He said that everybody talks about the 12,000 odd baskets that I've made. Nobody talks about 8,500 that I've missed. That's almost a 40-60% ratio, right? And he's the greatest that the sport has ever produced. And the other one is resilience. Ability to come ahead, move ahead in spite of defeats, setbacks, in spite of knowing that you are number 7, 8, 10, 12, 20, wherever you are in your industry. The resilience with which you move ahead is something which is uncanny, and we draw that from sports, right? A sports person who's playing at the zonal level, at the national level, at the international level, it doesn't matter. Everyone, like yesterday I was looking at the panels, and one of the panelists said that, and I think it was hockey panel, and Sardar commented that, every day is a new day. When we wake up, every day is a new day for us, and we know that we are going to win, right? And that's the spirit with which leadership in the corporate sector should move ahead with, and that's a lesson, a very important lesson for all of us to take.
Yes, absolutely. And since you spoke about Sachin Tendulkar, I think you spoke about resilience so beautifully, Ram sir. And when you just think of that Sydney knock, when he just batted for hours and hours, and he was getting out in the same fashion, chasing outside the off stump, chasing the fifth stump channel, and then he decides to leave and he doesn't play a shot before he gets to the double hundred. And then he says that, and the Aussies came good and hard at him. The Aussies relentlessly bowled and he relentlessly left. So that mental resilience, that determination, I think that is a leadership lesson in itself, leadership lesson and a half in itself when you speak of the great Sachin Tendulkar. Coming to Shantanu sir, Coca-Cola has been something which has not only been part of our childhood, but dare I say has been part of the Kolkata Durga Puja as well. For a long, long time it has been associated. So whenever we speak about the biggest carnival of the country, Coca-Cola gets associated with it. And also, I'd like to speak about the FIFA World Cup trophy tour that you did. It came back to India after 12 years. The fans got a chance to get close up and personal with the trophy. The legend Gilberto Silva coming in, and the fans got to interact with him. So where and how does this thought come from? I mean, this is an extremely ambitious event that you pulled off, and you pulled it off so successfully. So what were those leadership provocations that you had? May I use it in absence of a better word? What is that leadership thing you had in organizing an event of this scale?
Thank you. Thank you for having Team Coca-Cola over here. I've got colleagues in the audience as well. So thank you on their behalf. Speaking of leadership, congratulations to Rev Sports and Boryada's leadership on yet another Trailblazer. I think it's a phenomenal event that you all pull off for the fraternity. So keep going, guys. Coming back to your question on FIFA, I think the choice is something that the fans have made. We are obeying the choice. So the number of fans that have really snowballed over the years in India, and specifically in the Northeast where we took the trophy, is a very, very telling fact of how sports is growing in our country, and it's beyond cricket, and FIFA being one of the initiatives that we had. When it came to the leadership lessons on how do you choose and what do you go for, I think business is a team sport. Look at it as a very high performance team, which is how we operate. And taking some of the learnings from the previous panelists, and which is how we operate as well, and adding to that, having a long-term view on a sport and putting that in communication with your team continuously is most important. It's not just having the long-term vision, but also communicating it very often to the team is very important. To create an environment of trust is also the next step after the communication, right? So continuous communication also gives you comfort of failure. It's great to be ambitious, but you should also have the appetite and the environment for learnings, right? So that's the second part. We could have gone either ways with the FIFA initiative. We had 40,000 fans who turned up. but it could have been lesser, it could have been less qualitatively good. But if we wouldn't have taken the punt, if we wouldn't have taken the risk, if we wouldn't have put in the manas, we wouldn't have reached where we would have reached. So I think like sport, the more you can actually push the boundaries and see how far you can go, I think the teams need that comfort to push the boundaries, and we've created that environment internally for the teams to take those risks, have the appetite for failure, and also rejoice together when you succeed. So I think celebration is an important part of the team sport as well, right? So the boardroom becomes a locker room after we win. And you will see that in some parts and pieces on Instagram stories when we win, right? So that also becomes an important part of the story. And I think one very important thing we try to do every day, knowingly, unknowingly, is move our silver mindset to a gold mindset. What all can each of us do to help the team become a collective, more powerful unit, and not just as individuals, helping each other, pushing yourself, helping others push themselves as well. I think that is a team sport which comes together at Coca-Cola, and that helps us succeed in punts that we take all across.
Before I hand over the mic to Shormishtadi once more, you know, all the things that you just said is in sync with whatever Gautam Gambhir said yesterday. He said, I told my players to go and fail. I had clear communication with my team. I said that if you are playing 5 matches, you are playing 5 matches. Nobody's throwing you out of the team. Go and perform. When you talk about pushing boundaries, he said, I cannot play the sport with fear. So whenever it's high stakes, it's knockouts, I ask them to play more aggressively. You may get out for 70, 100, 110 one day, but I always tell them go for the 250 mark. Go for the that is why they were able to chase down 190 against West Indies. And you take a look at England in the semi-final and New Zealand in the final, 250 was breached. And the fact that they backed each other, this is what Gautam Gambhir said yesterday to us, that 2 examples that Bodiyada took in that session, Abhishek Sharma and Varun Chakravarti. 2 people who not quite performed up to the mark, but the team kept backing them. And Gambhir said, I pick them on potential. I don't pick a team on hope. I pick a team on potential. I know what my players are capable of and what they can deliver on the big stage. So it's fascinating to see that sporting lessons, so even being a corporate session, this is falling so beautifully in the sporting arena, in the sporting category. Shormishtadi, over to you.
I'll take 60 seconds more. In fact, you've struck a chord and also started some thought process where I can give you a little bit more peek into our consumer communication as well. So what you hold over here right now is standing for pushing boundaries, right? And when we say aaj kuch tufani karte, it actually means to the consumer as well. How you can push your boundaries today, number one. When it comes to our brand Kinley, it stands for trust. And it stands for trusting in each other, and it's backed and said by Dhoni himself, right? This is said by Surya Kumar Yadav, this is said by Abhishek, this is said by Pant, this is said by Rinku as well. So those are the brand ambassadors who say it with us to the consumers to actually further the sport through our consumer communication as well. When it comes to something as obtuse as Maaza, it is about creating a family environment, which is also very important when it comes to sports, right? When it comes to Sprite, we've actually pushed the boundaries and said it's going to be a heated environment, but thandrak. So most of our consumer communication also has got those cues of sports, which goes into the subliminal mind of the consumers to build sports further, and also overtly with brand ambassadors. Be it Neeraj saying that for Powerade, be it Shubman saying that for Powerade also. I think those are the important cues that we make as a company, not just internally, but also to the consumers.
So many ambassadors you spoke of, no wonder all these tables are very heavy because they're heavyweights. The tables are shaking on stage because so many heavyweight ambassadors are there.
Like Aram said, we are privileged to have some of these ambassadors.
I have a question, may I? I wanted to ask, it's quite intriguing what Gautam Gambhir actually mentioned yesterday as well, that he takes most of his, or 100% of his decision based on his gut and not on data. So what is your thought? Right, we people in corporates, we look at a lot of numbers, insights, and then kind of figure out. And there is a good anecdote to this, right? I had the privilege of meeting the great Piyush Pandey. He's no more, God bless him. You know, he told me once, and in Hindi, right, in his own way, right? और को ये तुम लोग जो HSBC बड़े बड़े बैंक करते हो, ये इनसाइड AC नीलसन को दे दिया, इतना पैसा खर्चा करके आ गया इनसाइड, उससे कुछ नहीं होता है. ट्रेन में बैठो, बोरीवली से बिकॉज आई स्टे इन मुंबई, दैट्स द पार्लान, सो बोरीवली से टाउन तक जाओ, VT तक, देखो, ऑब्जर्व करो लोगों के, उसमें जितना सीखने को मिलेगा सबसे ज़्यादा होगा. तो दैट बिल्ड्स योर काइंड ऑफ intent and all that as well, right? So how do you guys see that is what I wanted to.
And this is absolutely unfair because we were supposed to moderate the event. He's asking the moderator questions. So I'll ask Boriada to put him in the moderator's chair from next year. This is absolutely unfair.
That's what happens when you have marketing minds on stage.
Yeah.
See?
So
not only leadership sessions but moderation sessions from the panel as well.
So just be careful, I might become your competitor and, you know, just
no, I am not worried at all because I have Shormishta this backing. So I'm not worried at all. I'm honored actually to share a panel with her. Yes. Shormishta, yes, please.
All right. Thank you everyone for your very energized comments and involvement. Next to me is a very dear friend of Rev Sports and a personal friend, Murli Krishnan, who heads Wow Momo. And it's thanks to Murli that we have the huge Wow Momo stall outside, and everyone who comes here can eat as many momos and as many kulfis as they can manage. Yes, yes, you, even you, everyone means you. Also,
I already had my share yesterday.
Yes.
Going for it today as well.
Yes. Now Murli, when I have had conversations inside Wow Momo with yourself and Sagar Daryani, who was here yesterday, you know, there are some things which I've learned, like for instance, you have created a very powerful team of women, empowered them, and also you've worked with transgender people. So you have created Wow Momo as a space of empowerment and as a great leveler, as a democratic space. Now that's exactly what sport is, isn't it? It's a great leveler. So while I'm, you know, definitely congratulating you for that, but I want to learn more about this kind of thinking, which was there in Wow Momo from day one. You know, this kind of thinking that powers your game. Tell us a little bit more about this, which is so akin to sport.
First of all, good afternoon, good morning everyone, and thank you for having me here. Thank you, Boriada, thank you, Shamshadi, for having me here, and also congratulations for the studio. I'm sorry I couldn't make it that day, but wonderful to see, you know, Calcutta entrepreneurship, even in sports also, you know, the flags flying high. To be very precise, you know, the way we look at talent in the system, you know, for us in hospitality, any which way we tend to bend towards having more women talent, because we feel that they understand service in a far, selfless service and service in a far superior manner. You know, because obviously because of the way you know, the conditioning happens in the system. So therefore, in our specifically in hospitality ecosystem, the way we look at talent is not talent as per, you know, men, women, etc., etc. It's only the only quotient we look at is empathy quotient. You know, be it someone whom we try to recruit, or be someone who try to, you know, who's elevated to possibly the national training head now. For us, everyone in the system is the single-minded objective is, does this person have empathy? Because from at a startup mindset when you have, right, and I feel that is one of the, you know, strongest leadership lessons I have had in my life. That and which is very close to, you know, sports, is that every day is a different day. You know, you are as good as your last innings, right? If you have not performed well, then there are chances for you to not be part of the squad. For me, as a leader, I keep telling my kids that the only way to perform is take it by the day. Don't try to over-intellectualize life. Life is not there to intellectualize. In fact, if you are happy when you are, you know, going down the elevator at night, I think as a leader, my job is well done. And therefore, the empathy quotient is something which we constantly look at. We have about 79 transgenders working for us pan India, and I remember 3 years back, this was 12 people, you know. And we believe, and there are close to 172 differently abled people who can't speak, or who have some kind of, who are not, we call them wow abled people, right? And they are all front of the house. They are not back end people. And we take complete pride in them when we talk to. We have internal teams. We are taught as a leader how to, talk in, how to talk to a deaf and mute person. So we have a deaf and mute sign language cards. So all these comes from the substratum, which is the culture of the organization itself. It is not something that we try to import, right? And when we started off, I remember the only vision which we had at that time was to create 1 lakh jobs. Now possibly at this, after 16 years, our vision is to, we want to be creators of 10 lakh jobs. Possibly another 10 years down the line, we want to be creators of 1 crore jobs. But therefore, that is where the starting point or the purpose of the organization started with. Saying that, yeah, we will not do business, we will not work for anyone else, we will start something of our own, we will build the culture. We will build the culture of where everything is very democratic, where people, if they have great empathy, we will groom them. People, if they have less talent, we will groom them. People, if they have, say, no talent, I'm sure nobody will give them job, but we will ensure that we are trying to teach them and make them better. So very mentorship thinking, style thinking, right from, after a level where you reach, a senior manager level itself, you are constantly told by leaders and by your immediate bosses that, boss, no, you can't be telling your kid that she can't do or he can't do. You will have to mentor them. So the mentorship thinking is right from the beginning. And that is why I feel that I have been blessed with, a team that churns out every 4 years, which I happily tell them to go explore the world. Today, people who worked at WOW, they are doing great stuff outside WOW. They are possibly shining across the QSR industry, across marketing playfield. And I take super pride in that.
Absolutely fantastic. And we'll wrap up the session. We'll wrap up the session on this note. Shomikda, a few keywords for you from the session. Passion, hard work, teamwork, determination, creating a family-like environment. And as we have the top corporates of India on stage, I am already seeing Ravichandran Ashwin ready for his session, who I think would have made a fantastic corporate leader himself. Such an astute thinker of the game, such a brilliant reader of the game, and will not waste any more time. We'll go straight to the Ashwin session. Ladies and gentlemen, leadership lessons from sport from the top corporates in the country. A huge, huge round of applause for our esteemed panel. And ready to punch in the corner is Maurya Majumdar. We'll take it from here on with Ravichandran Ashwin. Go for it, sir. Go for it, come on.
Ogni and his mannerisms. Anyway, I was sitting at the back and listening to some of the insights. The reason Trailblazers is different is because of panels like this. Obviously, I know people will come and listen to Ashwin. That's natural. People will come and listen to Gautam Gambhir and Harbhajan Singh and Zahir Khan and Saurav Ganguly. But unless there is serious corporate support for sport, there is no conclave. There is no sport. We see, cricket has a lot of corporate support, but when you look at other sports in India, we know what the story is, and that's why each of these corporate leaders on stage, it was a fascinating, fascinating discussion. And you know what? Let me also say this to all of you. For the next 10 days, we have a clear run. The IPL starts on the 28th, which means there is a clear window. So what we will do is we will post-produce all of these sessions, and each of these days, starting tomorrow, we will broadcast and air all of these sessions on our platforms. So you all can check all of these sessions, because that's what we will do over the next 10 days. To do the honors, it will be the other way. It will be the other way. I'll request, and I can take a few liberties with him. It's always like we invite Ashwin to do a leadership talk and we felicitate him. Why not request Ravichandran Ashwin to felicitate our corporate leaders? Please, can you come up and felicitate this panel? And by the way, this